Welcome to Just Stable Enough, the podcast for horse people who are doing their best, learning as they go, and occasionally questioning every decision they have ever made. I'm your host, Kylie Heffernan, an amateur dressage rider based in the Hunter region of New South Wales, and each episode I'll be sitting down with riders, industry professionals, and horse owners from all walks of life to have honest conversations about horses, what works, what doesn't, and what we can all learn from each other along the way. Today's episode is about what happens when you realise the biggest obstacle in your training might not actually be your horse, but the subconscious pressure you've been quietly projecting onto yourself and your partnership without even realising it. Today, I'll be sharing the mindset shift that's changing the way that I'm approaching my journey with Sapien to hopefully lead us to better training outcomes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Just Stable Enough podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Today is going to be my second solo episode, and today we're kind of going to be talking about something that I'm kind of going through with my off-the-track thoroughbred Sapien at the moment, and I know it's something that a lot of other equestrians kind of face with their journey with their horses as well. So I thought it was a really good opportunity to kind of get into the nitty gritty of this while I'm really in the messy middle of it. And it is not fun whatsoever. What we're going to be talking about today is that feeling or those moments where you're like, I just can't keep going on with my horse like this. And I'm going to be talking to you guys about kind of where I've gotten to with my horse, how we're going to kind of like how I'm trying to manage this problem and whether or not that I should, I think, as well as another part of this conversation. Basically, for anyone who hasn't been keeping up to date with my TikTok or with what's going on this podcast, I started competing Sapien in dressage maybe like 2.5 years ago. We had a really, really strong first 6 months of campaigning at prelim level. We were going out, like we were smashing pretty high 60s, a lot of 70% scores as well. And Sapien and I just really, really took to it. Like we were having so much fun. It was wonderful. Anyway, fast forward a little bit of time and I decided that we were going to compete officially for the next season, which was last year, which we've just finished now. My seasons do not correlate to any real season. By the way, guys, they're just kind of financial years, I suppose, is probably more what I'm talking about. It was very expensive to compete officially last year, as many people who kind of, compete officially know. EA did put the fees up significantly, which was a bit of a surprise to everyone. But, this episode isn't about that. But I think it's part of the puzzle as well with what's been going on with me and Sapien. So we launched into our official campaign and I was super excited. Our training was going really well. We did unfortunately have a very wet winter last year, so I didn't get out and compete as much as I really wanted to. But then I started having a lot of problems with Sapien. And a lot of those problems were linked back to improper saddle fit, which I've done another episode on, and also building Sapien's top line. So I've purchased a new saddle. I've been working with Tara from Performance Saddle Fits to get all that right. I then have also been working with body workers. I've also been working with a chiropractor / biomechanic / osteo. And Sapien has somewhat been, we've still been competing up until probably April, May. But then we were kind of very heavily focused in our rehab program for Sapien for his top line, which we've been absolutely amazingly had such success with. And he looks amazing now. Like his top line has completely come back. He had a little bit of atrophy. And his condition wise has improved so much. And I had to get my saddle adjusted the other day. And basically what happened was in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. We're going to be able to get back to our competing schedule. We're going to be able to really knuckle down on our training and hopefully see some better results in our novice scores this year. Saddle has come back last week and it has been it's not gone to plan. The saddle is fine. The fit is fine. Sapien is fine. However, us getting him back into work has not been a particularly fun experience for me over the past couple of weeks. And we've both been really, really struggling. And I suppose to give you a glimpse of what happened is we go quite well for a few days and then he will have a bit of an explosion. For instance, last Saturday, I jumped on him. We had done a little bit of groundwork before. He was a little tense because there was a bit going on at the yard that I adjust him at. Nothing crazy, but just a little bit going on. And I popped on him, sat down, shifted my seat a little, asked him to walk forward, and he catapulted me into another stratosphere, is probably the best way to put it. The video is on my TikTok if you want to go look at it. Yeah, it was quite the surprise. And as falls like that do, they just shake your confidence a little bit, I think. And I feel like that's only natural. Anyway, I've been trying to work through it with my coach, who's just actually gone overseas as well. We had our last lesson on Tuesday, and I felt like we were kind of back on track like Wednesday, Thursday. But then I did take him out, and I've been doing groundwork before. I've been getting on to check in with him and make sure that, I'm not getting on a horse that's tense, because it's not in my wheelhouse. I don't want to do that. And yeah, unfortunately, I took Sapien out on Thursday morning and he was just very unhappy again. He was showing me that he, was very tense again. He was kind of trying to rear up a little bit. And I'm just like, oh, I just don't love this. Now, it is very hard. I have kind of gone down this path with him with the chiro and the body work and all that stuff. And that stuff is just kind of like ongoing maintenance for us now. Like, we have a chiropractic appointment in a couple of weeks and, he'll have another body work session. He only had one like 2 weeks ago and he hasn't really been in work. We've just been doing in-hand stuff. So before I kind of like interject another veterinary kind of, go down the pathway of getting a vet, I really had to stop and ask myself a few questions. And this all kind of came to a head when I was sitting in the car on Thursday morning after that really bad session, in tears, on the phone to my mum, because that's who we call when we're having a bad time. And just being like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I feel like I'm doing everything right by the horse. I'm getting all the right treatments. I've bought the new saddle. I'm consistent with my training. I'm consistent with my getting coaching and lessons. Like, I'm by no means trying to train this horse on my own either. Like, I've got professionals involved who are helping me along. And I just can't seem to get it right. And I was just on the phone to her and I was just like, maybe I need to retire him. Like, maybe I just can't do this, and maybe he can't do this either. And maybe dressage isn't for us, and maybe it's just all too hard basket. And we spoke at length about what was going on, and I was just kind of like, I'm so upset. Like, I was just really at the end of my tether. I went to work and I just decided that I was going to have a day away from Sapien on Friday. He's on full care adjustment, so it's not like I need to be there. But I do tend to go down there most days and check on him at the very least if I'm not riding or doing something. And I just needed to take a step back at this point. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? Like, you feel like you're doing everything correctly and it's still not working out. Like, is your take on this correct? And, I don't know if it is. And I asked myself this question, as well. I was like, when did this all start? This all started about a year ago when you decided that you wanted to compete officially. You invested in your fees. You invested more in your training, and you were like, I'm going to do this, and you were out there and you were chasing better scores. But are you having a good time? Is your horse having a good time? Are you getting better? And I'm not. I don't think I think our riding has improved, and the quality of work that he's producing has improved, but we keep getting to these moments where he's a very tense horse. And I've had to go back to my coach, who I currently train with. Her partner is like a Western performance horse trainer, and he's very good at horsemanship skills. So I've gone back to him for a lesson yesterday, just to try and nut out a little bit of what's going on. And kind of before I went into that lesson, I was like, well, I'm really upset that we've had to kind of go back to this, because I have had to kind of utilize this angle of training previously. And it's very useful, and it helped us a lot, and it brought his tension levels right back down. And, I got a lot of things in my toolkit, specifically with groundwork exercises and things to do under saddle to reduce tension, and to get him working right. And I was just very upset because I was like, I felt like we had been doing these things okay, and that we were kind of going to progress, and we just weren't progressing. Basically, it was kind of like I felt like we were due to go forward, but we were just going backwards again. And it's just like a nightmare to deal with. Anyway, in thinking about all of the stuff that had gone wrong, and what was going on with me and Sapien in this moment in time, I was like, when did this all start? When did this go from you and Sapien being a great partnership, calm, having a great time out on the dressage pitch, if you will, in the dressage arena, enjoying our tests? When did it change? And for me, I think while we definitely have had some physical issues that we've had to deal with Sapien, there's no denying that. And, obviously training your horse consistently is another part of it. I think my mindset really shifted when I started competing officially. And I think this is where I've come unstuck a little bit with my approach to what's going on with Sapien, and perhaps the pressure that I've been putting on myself and the partnership, which is potentially resulting in the outcomes that I'm consistently seeing rear literally their ugly heads with Sapien. I think because the fees went up, and I'm not blaming Equestrian Australia, the fees went up, so it was an investment. And, you want to see a return on your investment. And given the fact that Sapien and I we're still a green combination, I think I was just pushing too hard to see that ROI on something that you just should not be viewing in that manner. And this wasn't something that I was consciously doing. This has been such a subconscious, psychological, weird background noise thing that has been going on with me. And I think for me, I need to readjust my goal set with Sapien. This is not me saying I am going to no longer try to train him properly, to execute, things properly, or try and move up the levels. That's not what I'm saying. But I think I need to readjust my approach, because I'm trying to ride a horse basically that I don't have. And it's not fair on my horse what I'm doing right now. Because when I'm sitting in the car, right, and I'm upset and I'm crying and I'm like, oh, I want to get rid of this horse and I can't do this and I'm not good enough, and, I'm having all these thoughts and stuff like that. trying to ask myself that question as well. What is at the core of you being so upset about this? Like, it's a horse. Like, it doesn't matter what horse you have, they are going to present you with challenges. Sometimes you're going to be going nicely forward, and then other times you're going to be going backwards. And for me, like, I realized it was because I had this idea in my head that I was going to be going back out and competing at official novice in the next couple of months or month or two. And that was being kind of pulled out from underneath me. And I was really upset about that. And I think it's okay to be upset about that as well. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into training my horse. But at the end of the day, this is supposed to be something that's enjoyable for me and my horse. And we are struggling at novice level at the moment. We're struggling with getting our yields right. And that's a lot to do with, us not quite getting our outside leg, your inside leg to outside rein / getting control of his hind end. And to me, that says, if I look at it pragmatically, it says to me, you've not quite got this horse understanding exactly what he needs from you at the moment. And that was somewhat the result of our lesson yesterday as well, is that a lot of this tension that is coming out from Sapien at the moment is just due to the fact that I'm expecting him to know the answer to the question that I'm asking him, because we should be there. However, I probably haven't shown him properly. And it's because I'm also new myself and I'm trying to learn how to do all these things. So if I want to do this properly, I'm going to need to come at this from a slightly different angle. I also don't feel Sapien is the kind of horse who can probably cope with pure dressage 5 days a week. I just think it's not in his temperament to be able to do that. So I'm going to need to incorporate some kind of cross training or something else into this to keep his mind active and engaged in everything. And I don't exactly know what that looks like at this point in time, but I think, just if I start walking, I hope that if I just start walking down this path, the answers may come to me a little bit as well. That's all I can really do at this point. I've also made the decision that I need to adjust my goals. I think the goal of competing officially at novice level, doing AOR, at this point is probably not just a stretch in terms of like where we're at in our training level. I think it's also financially a stretch for me as well. Even though, the fees have come down since last year, if you include your dressage license, it was actually a little bit more. And trying to save up and get the money together for that alongside just everything else that is going on in the world and all the other things that need to be paid for. Plus, I've been rehabbing the horse, purchased a new saddle. I'm still paying off my ute. I'm just kind of like, you were just putting yourself under so much financial strain. And at the end of the day, like he doesn't know any difference between an official class and an unofficial class. So I'm going to be going back to unofficial and I'm going to be focusing my next 12 months on more of the off the track classes as well, just where we can probably get a little bit more guidance. It's going to be less stressful. And I feel like there are goals there that we can work towards and hopefully, achieve a few of them as well. And I think just that shift in mindset away from, oh, we want to go and compete officially and we want to get our points and, maybe go to state one time or something like that. I think we just need to just step back for a second and just focus on getting a horse that is not tense, that is happy and comfortable doing what it is that he's being asked of him, and he and I focusing on our training. And it may need to be a different approach. Like I said, don't know how that's going to look. I think I see some people like Tristan Tucker, for example, is someone that I look to and go, it gives me hope that I can combine dressage with some horsemanship stuff as well. And like I said, I don't know exactly how it looks like because I just don't see that many people doing it this way either, which is kind of like a little bit of another challenging part of it. But if I'm going to do this with Sapien, I'm going to need to do it like this. And the thing is, as well, is that he and I used to love competing together. Like it was a real pleasure. And I've had some days where we've gone out this year and really had a good time on him as well. And like it seemed like he was relaxed and he looked great. And I was really happy with our scores and all that kind of stuff. But there have just been some days at home in the past, probably 3 or 4 months, have just been, chaotic, a nightmare. I'm just like, this is uncomfortable for me. It's clearly uncomfortable for him. And I've been trying to work through these issues. And I'm a huge advocate for not giving up on your off the track thoroughbred. Like I really am. And I talk about it all the time on my TikTok, do not give up. But I won't lie to you guys. Like there are days where I'm just like, I can't deal with this. Like I don't know if I can go forward. And I've definitely had a few of those over the past couple of weeks. And I think that's also why I want to go back to those like unofficial off the track classes as well, is because I feel like it's just a bit more of a relaxed atmosphere. It's more focused on growth. It's more focused on things like that for me. And like, I know that's a bit of a big call. And I know a lot of people are probably listening to this right now and just being like, oh, well, you've had a few bad experiences. You're not having the best time out there at the moment. And this is also not saying that I won't go back to competing officially, let's just say in 12 months' time, if we've done all the things that we need to do. And I feel like Sapien is progressing nicely and that I can manage myself a little bit better. I potentially will go back to, competing officially again. And there's also, you can only go to a certain level at unofficial anyway. Not that we're getting ahead of ourselves with that. But I think it's important to kind of recognize that I need to probably put some boundaries around what's going on with me and Sapien right now, because I am putting a mental load on him that's not acceptable, and he needs something from me that's not going to come from that. He needs better training, and he needs me to show him the way of doing that. Like, I have to be conscious of my own budget with this too, and try and make the sport something that I can participate in and something that I can really enjoy with the budget that I have too. And I'm going to be basically, doing dressage lessons and probably doing some more horsemanship stuff as well. And I'm going to try and see if I can merge these two things, mash them, if you try and make the horse that I would like to ride, and that would be a happier experience, I think, for Sapien as well. But at the end of the day, all I can do is walk down this path and see. Like I said, I'm right in the middle of this at the moment. I don't have any outcomes, I suppose, for what is going on with us right now. So I suppose if you're listening to this episode and you having a moment like me, you're like, oh my God, it's not working out. I've tried everything. The horse is not going the way that I want it to. It's unhappy. I've done all the things. Ask yourself that final question. It's like, when was the last time I had a good time on this horse? And what are these goals that I have for myself? And is it not do I need to change my horse, or do I need to change something about me? Is it something about me that needs to change here? Because you can go and buy a new horse if you want, but if you are continually bringing the same problems to the table, it's probably quite likely that you're going to have, as a consequence, another issue similar to this with a new horse as well. And that's the part that really confronts me, is like how much this is about me is probably not so much about Sapien. And it's about me and my goals, and how I've gotten a little bit, I suppose, off track with where we need to be going forward from here. Anyway, that was it for me today, guys. Just a little quick snip of my, I suppose, mental state and what's been going on over the past couple of weeks. Talking about this stuff is really challenging because, I've been really focused on improving and progression with Sapien over the past 12 months, and sharing that with my community online, and then, also with starting the podcast up. And it's really hard to sit here and go, well, it's not working out. Like, it's a bit shit at the moment. Like, because I know so many people are, I get messages of people asking me, oh, can you watch me ride? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I try and go back to them and be like, hey, listen, like, I'm not a qualified trainer. Like, I'm really struggling myself to kind of put all the pieces together. So, it's just so frustrating how psychological horses are. And it's so real. It is such a real thing that it's non-linear. And some days you're on top of the world with how well things went, even if it's just something that you did at home, like not necessarily going out and competing. And then other days you're in the car and you're crying your eyes out to your mum about something that they've done. And it's just like, oh, I'm going to sell them, or I'm going to retire them, or worse, like it is hard work. And, I want to be able to share this stuff with you guys. I think as well, I was a little bit backed off on putting this on a podcast episode, because I know in probably a month's time, things will hopefully have changed, and I'll reflect on this episode and be like, oh my God, I was really, really in the middle of that when I recorded it. But I think someone's always in the middle of it. You know what I mean? And like, that's kind of what I want the podcast to be about as well. It's like giving people the ability to feel their emotions and the way that they're feeling about their horse validated. Because the first thing that I did when this all went down was I jumped onto Spotify and I was like, oh, is there something that I can listen to? Or is there somewhere I can go where I can try and find something to help me get through this moment? And there wasn't anything specific. There was a lot of stuff in the ballpark, but nothing specific of what's going on with me and Sapien. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. I'm super excited actually about our next episode. So I have our next guest episode booked in like 2 weeks' time. And this is a person who's been quite involved in Sapien and I's journey. And I think it'll be something that a lot of people can benefit from in terms of some of the problems that they might be having with their horse. So I'm super excited to bring this person to you guys to have a yarn and to talk about kind of what's been going on with her and how she's kind of helped me out as well with my journey with Sapien. So again, thank you so much for listening. I hope if you're listening to this and you're having the very worst day with your horse, go home, have a glass of wine, have a sleep, think about everything, try and think about all of the things that, are contributing to the problem, and just know that you're not alone. Get involved, get in touch with a trainer, get in touch with, even a friend or a family member, and just talk it through. Like every day is a battle with some of these horses, some of them are just more difficult than others as well. Like it is very challenging when you see people out there and they just seem to be consistently going well with their horse. That's great for them. I can't wait to be that person. If it ever happens for me, but you're not alone. You're not the only person who is probably having a problem. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys.